Hello and welcome to the final video, Truth Without Pride. But if you do want me to do more content, then place it in the comments and let me know. But I really only planned, to do one, but God keeps putting it in my heart to do a little bit more and to show you the books. But this one is to show you that what their agendas are in a form of a context. And so we spoke about the Catholic Church, do you remember? And I told you that they may have a white coat, but underneath they really are of the devil. They don't really belong to God. The system we're talking about. And I spoke about the Pope, who has a building that he speaks from, and inside it is really the shape of a serpent. And that's the cathedral. And look, you can see it right there, can't you? That you can see the eyes of the snake, the head, the fangs, right? So this is where the Pope, right, does his speaking from. So they're showing you through symbols that they really are the serpent, and they are the first beast of Revelations. And you can see at the bottom there, that's the Pope. Now behind him is that funny looking statue thing, and so this is if you can see it, but this is more of a blown up looking of it. Now, what people had done was they cut the image in half, and they put one side of it and joined it again. You know, I mean, there's some people are really good at imaging, and it shows the Baphomet. In other words, it shows Lucifer, and then they cut the other half and do the same. So it's check some things online about that. The Serpent Cathedral and its altar with the Pope. But the other topic that we were talking about, and I said to you that I will show you their 10-point plan. Now this goes back the early 1940s to 1960s, when Lucis Trust became a member of the United Nations. But the Lucis Trust, their plans for the world is what the United Nations have adopted. And you'll find also the Seventh-day Adventist Church is a member of this organisation. So when I show you this 10-point plan, then you yourself should be able to say, well, what would the Seventh-day Adventist Church have to do as a member of this organisation? And the Bible makes it perfectly plain that you are not to be involved with the world, to make friends of the world, because true Christians are alienated from this world. This world belongs to Lucifer and all the things in this world. And a person needs to study that, to understand that the ruler of this world is actually Lucifer. But God reigns in the hearts of those that belong to him. Now this here, right, this is their agenda. And so I'll read it out to you. One of the main agendas of the New Age movement is to become the dominant religion or lifestyle within the entire world. Therefore, in order for New Age philosophies to become dominant, then all other religions, especially Christianity, must either be destroyed or become less of a spiritual influence within society and in the individual lives of people. It is from this desire to see the dominance of the New Age movement that Alice Bailey allegedly wrote a 10-point plan charted to destroy Christianity so that New Age philosophies may become the one world religion for the world. Now from there we already know that that through the ecumenical movement that all the churches are all joining together. And what we also see from the Catholic Church is the Eastern religions have all signed over their authority to the Catholic Church that has done. Check it out yourself. And whenever you see the Pope go to the Eastern countries, they bow down to him. Now, bowing down to him makes him the leader of them, does it not? So remember I mentioned the Two Babylons by Hislop. That's a book you ought to read if you want to know why or what the Catholic Church has in common with the Eastern religions. Well, you'll find it in that book. The book speaks for itself, and all the different names that are used. But then you've also got the Ecumenical Church. They have also signed over their authority to the Catholic Church. Now, you'll find in the Seventh-day Adventist, I haven't got the documents, but I read that it was in 1957, and even I heard that it was earlier than that they have basically given their authority to Rome. And we can see during the last pandemic that they really didn't assist their people, and many people that thought that this organisation would stand behind them. But if a person studies the hierarchy, they receive money from the government, and they made a lot of money out of it. So it's like, people that give you money, or money that you owe people, they are really your bosses. You're not independent. It's like this home that I have. When I owned a mortgage, well, it was the bank that owned me, was it not? So it's the same with any organisation. Wherever you get the money from, they're the ones that own you. And if it be a government, well, the government owns you. So you see Diop, he goes, sees the Pope, they're all honouring the Pope. And it doesn't matter what words they give you, it's action that shows you who they really are. Anyone can say they're a Christian, but then when you look deeper into them and examine them by the words of truth, you can actually see really that they're just playing the game. They say one thing to you, but their actions show something else, which is sad. But when we consider Bible prophecy, and even that they twist, it's this is modern Seventh-day Adventist Church, not the traditional, because even Ellen White warned that their foundations, their pillars, they'll seek to destroy, and that is what's going on. You see that they no longer give credence, or they're speaking against Ellen White, and you should study who she is before you denounce her. And the so-called Protestant world consider the Seventh-day Adventist Church a cult, but really when you ask them why, well, they really don't have a clue. It's because of what their pastor says, and they really don't study history as in relation to the Bible. And the first clue of an apostate church is what day you're keeping. So if you're keeping Sunday, well, you've already strayed from the law of God. Therefore, how can the Spirit of God be within your church? It will be within some of the people, definitely, because that's the only light that they know. But if they be informed that Friday sunset to Saturday sunset is what they are to keep, and they don't do that and they don't research that, then they are responsible for the false teaching of the members. And to be a pastor, to be held in that position, I can tell you, it's not an admirable position. It is a horrible place to be, because the words that come out of your mouth have to be truth. And we don't see that today. And in one of my research, I found that 80% of pastors do not really read the Bible. They just get their sermons online. So they're following the dictates of others as to what they are to preach, and not double checking to see that what they're telling you is absolute truth. And then the people that attend have the soothing ears because they don't study it for themselves. So pastor and the members of the church are equally responsible, because they don't do the study themselves. So who's to blame? Both are to blame, And but it is true. If you present someone truth and you say, look, let's sit down and discuss it, people do not want to do that. They're really not interested in finding out what is truth. What they do is like some of the pastors I've spoken to, they give you the silent treatment. Yeah, they'll stand in front of you and blah, 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 and it's all rubbish, but when it comes to finding truth and studying it so that you're not teaching other people falseness, you find you get silence, or you get, oh, how dare you come in here, leave me alone. It's nothing to do with truth. And even when you present books to them of scholars that have greater knowledge than you, like Bergen, Scrivener, Wilkinson, and then you see those other books like A.T. Jones, where these people owe their religious freedoms to these people, right? But they won't read their works. And one pastor that I did give the book to, he says, I'll just read sections of it, right? So, how can you judge a matter unless you really start from beginning to end? Because if you read the book, it really takes you bit by bit. That's how exhaustive it is. And if you just pull out parts of it that suit you, well, you're not really going to get the understanding of what the author is really telling you. You're only getting what you want, and you'll use that book as a reference to others, but really you're still misleading the people, and because you don't really study the whole lot of it to see what it means. And now, look, I can understand that reading can be quite monotonous, quite boring. But if you are a pastor, then you have a duty, and it's a duty between you and God. And you're given more responsibility than your members. And it's a terrible thing, it's a frightening thing. And it's not something that I really want to do. And, to teach wrong, be responsible as well. So it goes both ways. But what I am telling you is from a lot of research and looking at where we're going today in this world. And we can see these things coming. Okay, you can see these things coming. Surely you can see the wars starting. But those four things I mentioned, the Hegelian dialectic, the 80-20 rule, Asch conformity, and the fact that the governments lie to you, but so do the media. So you're being lied to every which way. You just got to find out truth for yourself, and that starts being humble on your knees before God and saying to him, teach me your ways, and forgetting about the noise that's around you. But let's lead on. I have carried on. And my wife told me to stop at 30 minutes because she's the one that uploads these. So I'm under the thumb. I'm under the pump. Anyway, the main purpose of the 10-point strategy is to either destroy Christianity or to convert the nations to New Age philosophies. The Alice Bailey 10-point plan is allegedly also part of a grand plan and strategy to eventually introduce a new world order system. Right? Remember I mentioned about common good? You'll own nothing but you'll be happy, which is Roman Catholicism, but also spoken out to by the World Economic Forum. And New Age philosophies. Oh my goodness. Don't we see the beating of the drums in the church? Don't we see tongue speaking? Don't we see meditation? And even some of the churches have fighting as training and things like that. So God is being moved out of the churches. His law is not there. And so New Age philosophies, meditate. Well, in meditating you also use chanting, and that opens the door to demonic forces. And tongue speaking, Acts chapter 2, if you fully read it, you'll find its languages. And all those other verses that you tongue speakers want to mention, well, really go into it and have another look. Glossolalia, right? Really have a look at it and study it for yourselves. I mean, if you're keeping Sunday, how can the Spirit of the Lord be in that church? Right? So first you need to study the Decalogue, the commandments. So go back to your A.T. Jones, the study of Galatians. To fully understand that God's law is never changing. He's never changing. His righteousness never changes. Right? His law is perfect. If his law is perfect, then why would he change it from one day to another? I mean, that's scriptural, that's gospel. Right? Okay? So study for yourselves. That so-called tongues, which is either psychologically in your mind or you're being influenced by demons, right? You're negating the law of God. So really, how do you judge what is truth? First you've got to come back to the law and you've got to understand it. And if it's not according to the words of truth, then there is no truth in it. You can have 90% truth, 95% truth, right? But that little error that you put your hat on that hook, that don't mean you have truth. It means you're being deceived, right? So a person needs to tread very careful in this world to discover truth. And like I said, it begins with a humble heart and mind. It begins on bended knee. That's where it begins. It must begin there, not through your own understanding, but let God teach. And so that means you need to be teachable. And it's very important. Don't take for granted your time upon this earth. Really consider things. Okay, so the first point, take God and prayer out of the educational system. America used to have a generic prayer in the schools. I don't know about Australia or the rest of the world, but that was taken out. Now they're looking at bringing it back in. But the dominant religion that will be there is Roman Catholicism. So teach the kids to belong to a false system. Reduce parental authority over the children. Now in Australia, you had the kids' helpline, and then they introduced laws about how you can discipline your children. So if the children didn't like you, they would call the kids' helpline. Next minute you've got the authorities coming over. And the whole aim is, oh, this place is hostile, we've got to separate the children from the parents, And if you smack your child wrong, you're the one that's in trouble. Now, that's controversial in this age, but the fruit of it is, have a look at the children today. Gospel's taken out, the discipline of the parents is removed, the parents, both of them, work now these days, and the kids are left to others to teach them the ways of the world. So they're taught to rebel against their parents from a very early age. And the ideology of the world is what they're being taught from very young. So it's really, as a parent, it would be very much an uphill battle to teach your child the straight and narrow road, to block out that noise. And people can't afford to really raise children on one wage. Destroy the Judeo-Christian family structure, or the traditional Christian family structure. Well, that's already begun, hasn't it? I mean, they, through the movies and things like that, they make a Christian seem to be a mental case, and that demons have more power over Christians. And even today with multiculturalism, the fruits of that is atheism. So you look at Muslim, you look at the Indian religions, you look at Christianity, and even the hypocrisy that's in Christianity, and you turn around and say, well, I want none of that. They're all a bunch of hypocrites. And even the pedophilia that goes on through these false religions, and which is very rampant. So you can understand that atheism is the fruit of all of this, and Christianity is frowned upon. And even when I hand pamphlets out, some people get quite irate, and over what? Over words, but for them it has a different meaning, and which is sad, so people don't separate what people do as against God, and they don't understand it's a spiritual battle between two forces, so that's where we are. If sex is free, then make abortion legal and make it easy. Well, definitely a woman can take a pill. Most people have multiple partners today, and honeymoon is 2 years, then after that it's a battle of wheels for the next 20 years, and it seems easier to leave the relationship and start a new one afresh than stay with the old one and go through all those trials and sorrows. So that's both ways, as men and women, but women, I think, hold the relationship more than men. We're foolish people. So it says, I did say make divorce easy and legal, didn't I? I said do that. Make homosexuality an alternative lifestyle. Well, bingo. I mean, we don't have to go any further on that. But the pendulum it seems to be swinging in America from that. Or is it? I don't know. Debase art, make it run mad. Well, art is an interesting thing. It's very subjective. Use media to promote and change mindsets. Well, we mentioned that before, don't we? The government used media, and it used to be that there was good independence in media, but I think now it's held by 6 people, and one of them, I forgot his name, is definitely a Satanist. He promoted one of the satanic books, Murdoch, I think it was, but it's propaganda news, and a lot of my customers that come in, they go, we don't watch the news. They're sick of the propaganda. And you'll find all across all the networks are all saying the same rubbish. You have to go to the independent news, and you have to weigh in a balance for yourself what is truth. Create an interfaith movement. Well, we mentioned ecumenical, and we mentioned how the Pope says let's set aside our differences, right, and come together. Well, God's law's got to stand above that, and principle and ethics and have to stand well above that. And the blood of the great men of the past, your reformers, their blood has to speak loud in these times. And all the persecutions that have been done through the Roman Catholic Church, it should not be forgotten. And so you should understand that the chameleon changes colours and changes shapes to whoever she wants to be. So she doesn't change. Get governments to make all these laws and get the church to endorse. That's the last one. And, hate speech, freedom of speech is being very much eroded in a lot of countries, even in Australia. It's you say anything against a religion and it can be considered hate speech. In England, outside of an abortion clinic, a person can be in deep thought, and a lot of people in deep thought, they move their lips, and they get arrested for praying outside of an abortion clinic, so thought police. And there's many other things going on. Even texting can see the police upon your door. I mean, everything's getting policed, everything's getting monitored. This is getting monitored. The police come round my door, if they do, well, so be it, We all got to count the cost of the things that we're doing. Everything has a cost. And even these videos will have a cost later on, I can tell you that. I really didn't want to do these videos because I know what's coming. AI is going to be your enemy. At the moment it's being used as a friend, but it is not. It's going to be used against you, like all things. Now, for further information, I want you to go to this guy here, Walter Veith, and that's Total Onslaught. Okay, now he's on YouTube, so Walter Veith, Total Onslaught, and he's got 36 videos. Each one's about an hour long, and he started off as an atheist. He started off as a believer in Darwinism, creationism, and he got a PhD in that. So he's an educated man, and anyone that wanted to talk Christianity to him, he shut down very quick, very hard. But eventually he realised that even in that science, the science was flawed. And he was given 2 science books, and he grabbed hold of them and he went through them page by page. And in that it showed that they were just changing it to suit themselves, alright, to carry the narrative. But eventually he looked deeper into it. He wanted to open his eyes and actually have a look, rather than using his past to dictate his theology. And so then he eventually became a Christian. And so he goes very deep into history, into the flood, everything like that, and the occult. Brilliant, and witch Bible. So I suggest you look at him, and even you can look at his testimony. And he's got a great testimony, him and his wife. So, and they do another YouTube, which is What's Up Prof. So look at that. But you've always got to examine things for yourselves and put your trust in God. Now, I got 40 seconds to go, so I better not let it go any longer. All right. So look, I do wish you well. I don't know if God is going to get me to do any more, but if you want me to do any more, then put it in the comments. All right. And let's see where God goes. But put your trust in Him. He will not let you down. I did tell you I've got lots of experiences, but would you believe? I don't know. 10 seconds. All right. Bye-bye.